I think when most travelers hear the phrase mega resort all-inclusive, they immediately picture a very specific thing.
Right, like a towering concrete block.
Exactly, like a massive concrete high-rise, endless buffets, loud pool parties, and this perfectly manicured environment where you could honestly be anywhere in the world.
A completely controlled environment.
Yeah, but what happens when you take that highly predictable corporate luxury machine and you drop it straight into the middle of the untamed Costa Rican jungle? Welcome to Resorva, by the way. If you find this breakdown helpful, just hit that like and subscribe button real quick. It really helps the channel out.
So today we're looking at the Westin Reserva Conchal. It's a massive 406-room, all-inclusive in Costa Rica's Guanacaste region. And it really challenges that standard Caribbean white sand party model.
It totally does. And our goal here isn't just to list off amenities. We want to help you confidently decide if this specific blend of, Marriott brand predictability and raw nature actually deserves your vacation budget.
Which is a really delicate balance. Because from an architectural standpoint, this property occupies a very distinct position in the market. It sits on 2,400 acres of protected land.
2,400. That is, it's practically a small town.
It functions like one. The original developers, and Westin has kept this ethos through their major renovations. Most recently, in 2023, they decided to build low and spread out.
Okay, why though? Why not just build a 15-story tower and save all that walking?
Because building a massive vertical tower requires deep foundations that completely disrupt the subterranean water flow, and you'd have to destroy the local tree canopy. By spreading out into these low-rise casitas, they actually maintained the historical wildlife corridor.
So you're literally living in the ecosystem.
Exactly. But of course, that physical footprint dictates everything about how a Tuesday afternoon feels for a guest. Let's talk about actually getting there first. You fly into Daniel Oduber Quiros International Airport, LIR.
Which honestly is such a huge advantage. It's only about a 45-minute transfer to the resort.
Right. For travelers, especially those flying direct from the US or Canada, keeping that transit time under an hour is incredibly valuable. You aren't bunning half a vacation day on a bumpy shuttle.
But, and this is a big but, once you arrive, that massive eco-friendly footprint becomes a real logistical factor. Because I'm looking at guest feedback, and a lot of people mention the walking.
It creates friction. There's no way around it.
Yeah, like if it's 88 degrees out with 90% humidity and you just want to grab a quick coffee, a half-mile hike isn't exactly luxurious. Does this sprawling layout become a liability?
It definitely can be for certain guests. The resort uses a fleet of golf cart shuttles to move people around, but anytime you introduce a shuttle system into a property with over 400 rooms, you introduce wait times.
Especially right before dinner.
Exactly. Peak transit hours stress the system. You might be standing in the tropical heat waiting for a ride, so you're trading that mindless elevator to the lobby convenience for environmental immersion.
Which is a cool trade-off when you step out of your room and there's like a howler monkey swinging above you.
Or an iguana sunning itself on the path. The wildlife is there because their habitat wasn't bulldozed into a parking lot.
Still, as a practical traveler, you need a strategy here. You can't just rely on a golf cart every time you forget a towel in your room.
Right. The tactical approach is to negotiate your room placement long before you arrive. If mobility or patience is a concern, you need to proactively request a room closer to the central amenities, like the main pool or the Mitra market.
Okay, and speaking of the rooms, because your location on this massive map is huge, but the actual category you book is probably the second biggest variable.
The baseline quality across those 406 rooms is quite high, especially after those 2023 updates. Guests consistently praise the Westin Heavenly Beds.
Which is a staple for the brand.
Yeah. Every room has a balcony or terrace, very spacious bathrooms. It really leans into that indoor-outdoor tropical aesthetic.
But there is a very distinct class divide here. We have to talk about the Westin Club level.
The Club Upgrade. It's a separate booking tier that gives you access to a private lounge, an exclusive pool area, enhanced food and beverage, and dedicated concierge services.
See, I am naturally skeptical of these club or diamond tiers at mega resorts because half the time, it feels like a total status symbol. You pay an extra $100 or $200 US a night, and what do you get? a different colored wristband, and some better sparkling water.
It can definitely feel like corporate upselling at some resorts. But here you have to look at the psychology of a mega resort during peak season. Between late December and April, the dry season, this place operates near full capacity.
So we're talking 8, maybe 900 guests on property.
Easily. And they all want to sit by the pool at 10 in the morning.
Oh, the towel game?
The towel game. The main freeform pool here is actually one of the largest in Central America, but even a pool that size has a finite number of premium loungers with good shade. Guests report waking up at 6:30 a.m. just to secure a spot.
Which is completely counter to the idea of a relaxing vacation, like setting an alarm to fight for a chair.
Exactly. So the Westin Club upgrade isn't just about the premium water, it's an operational escape valve. It gets you into that secondary, exclusive pool.
You're basically buying back your sleep.
You're buying peace of mind. You eliminate a major source of daily anxiety.
Wow. Okay. That actually makes a lot of sense. Hey, real quick, if you guys are enjoying this conversation, drop a like and subscribe to Resorya. It helps us keep diving into these properties for you.
And that club-level concierge is crucial for another reason, the dining ecosystem.
Yes. Let's get into the food, because this is where the tension between that predictable Marriott luxury and the raw jungle reality really flares up.
The resort has invested heavily here.
Yeah.
The newly renovated Mitra Market is great. It's more of an interactive gastro market than a sad buffet. Plus, they have Asian, Latin American, seafood, Italian, and a stud house.
And the consensus is that the quality is actually very high for an all-inclusive.
It punches well above its weight class, especially the breakfast spreads and the craft cocktails.
But the reservation system. Reading through guest feedback, this is easily the biggest pain point of the entire trip.
The specialty restaurants require strict advance reservations. No walk-ins. And during busy months, they book up incredibly fast. Plus, not every venue is open every night.
I've got to be honest, I really dislike this model. If I'm paying premium all-inclusive rates, I kind of feel like I should be able to spend the day at the beach and just, decide at 5 p.m. that I want a steak.
It feels restrictive.
It feels like trying to score front-row concert tickets on my vacation. Why can't a brand this big just open the doors and cook?
The frustration is completely valid, but the mechanics behind it are driven by geography and ecology. This is Guanacaste. It's somewhat remote. The supply chain to deliver prime beef and fresh seafood to 400 rooms in the jungle is very fragile.
It's not like they can just run down to a wholesale warehouse if they run out of shrimp.
Exactly. Everything is forecasted and trucked in. If the steakhouse was a free-for-all, they'd have to prep for a worst-case scenario, thawing hundreds of steaks just in case.
And if everyone decides they want Italian that night, the food waste would be terrible.
Which violates the entire eco-conscious ethos of Costa Rica. The reservation system lets the culinary team predict exact inventory and staffing. It eliminates massive food waste and, frankly, keeps the food quality high.
Okay, knowing the why definitely softens the annoyance. It's not just arbitrary rules, it's jungle inventory management.
Right.
But as a guest, I still need to eat. How do we beat this system?
You treat dining reservations as a mandatory arrival procedure. Do not wait. The moment you check in, before unpacking, before hitting the pool book, all your specialty dining for the whole trip.
Or, back to our earlier point, if you have the club level, you just hand your list to the concierge.
That is the highest and best use of that concierge. Outsource the logistical headache on day one, and your week is totally stress-free.
Okay, so once we've navigated the massive footprint, the room upgrades, and secured our dinner, we finally get to step outside and enjoy the amenities, which, to be fair, justify a lot of the pricing.
The recreation infrastructure is vast. Beyond that huge lagoon pool, there's an 18-hole championship golf course designed by Robert Trent Jones II.
That's a huge draw for a specific type of traveler.
Having a course of that caliber tied into an all-inclusive is rare. There's also a highly rated kids club, tennis courts, and the Heavenly Spa, which really integrates the local botanicals. It's a very controlled, highly curated luxury bubble.
But that curated bubble inevitably thins out when you walk down to the ocean. We need to talk about Playa Conchal, because this is not a private island.
Visually, it is stunning. The name literally translates to shell beach. It's not powdery white sand. The shoreline is composed of millions of tiny crushed shells.
Which sounds gorgeous, but practically speaking, it's a completely different texture. You might want water shoes.
You might. But because there's no fine silt, the water clarity is often exceptional. Great snorkeling when it's calm, and the sunsets are universally praised.
So the beauty isn't the issue. The friction comes from the legal status of the beach, right?
Exactly. Under Costa Rican law, all beaches are strictly public property up to the high tide line. No resort can restrict access.
So you leave this incredibly manicured private sanctuary by the Westin Pool, walk onto the shells, and suddenly you're back in the real world.
The transition is instant. You will encounter local vendors, people selling handmade souvenirs, offering massages on folding tables, trying to book you on jet ski tours.
I can see how that creates a psychological clash for some people. You know, you're used to the concierge anticipating your every need, and then boom, you're being actively sold to by 5 different people.
It depends entirely on your travel history. If you're used to hyper-secluded private beaches, say in parts of Mexico or the Caribbean, this persistent commerce can feel jarring. Some guests find it exhausting and retreat to the pool.
But what about travelers who actually want to experience the country they flew to?
For them, it's a welcome dose of cultural reality. That public beach law is fundamentally a beautiful thing. It ensures the natural wonders belong to the people of Costa Rica, not foreign hospitality brands. You're sharing the space with local families and entrepreneurs.
It's just a matter of adjusting your expectations.
Right.
If you expect a private beach, you'll be miserable. If you realize you're a guest in their neighborhood, it totally shifts the dynamic.
And practically, timing is everything. If you want tranquility, go to the beach early in the morning. The water is calmest, the light is great, and vendor presence is minimal.
By the afternoon, it's bustling.
Definitely.
So bringing this all together, when we look at pricing, comparing your options is so important here. We highly recommend using a platform like Expedia to compare the standard room rates versus the club level rates. Sometimes the price gap isn't as wide as you'd think, especially if you catch a refundable rate early.
Finding the right value on Expedia can make that club upgrade a much easier decision.
So let's get into our final verdict. We've talked about the village-like geography, the strategic necessity of the club upgrade, the ruthless dinner logistics, and the beautiful public reality of Playa Conchal. Who is this resort actually for?
It is an exceptional fit for families. The sheer volume of space, the kids club, and varied dining prevent anyone from feeling confined. It's obviously a haven for golf enthusiasts, and it's highly attractive to Marriott Bonvoy loyalists looking to use points for an upper upscale experience.
But the real defining trait seems to be like an actual affinity for nature.
Absolutely. It's for the traveler who wants high-end comfort but prioritizes seeing real wildlife over a sterile environment. It's for people who'd rather watch a coyote wander past their patio than stare at a perfectly trimmed hedge for 7 days.
On the flip side, we have to be honest about who should probably look elsewhere. If you want a highly curated, hyper-quiet, adults-only vibe, this is way too large and family-focused. You'd be much better off at a place like Secrets Papagayo further up the coast.
I agree. And if you're looking for heavy nightlife or high-energy pool parties, the Westin Reserva Conchal will feel way too sleepy after dinner.
Not to mention, if your dream vacation requires powdery white sand and absolute isolation from the public, this beach will frustrate you.
It really comes down to weighing your tolerance for a little friction against the reward of environmental authenticity. Are you willing to manage the massive footprint and lock in dinner reservations on day one to gain that true Costa Rican feel?
You know, it's fascinating. The way I see it, a traditional all-inclusive is kind of like a terrarium. It's hermetically sealed, climate-controlled, nothing unexpected ever happens. But this Westin is more like an ecosystem. It's porous. It actually lets the jungle in.
A terrarium versus an ecosystem. That is a brilliant way to frame it. The property succeeds because it doesn't try to fight the country it was built in.
It adapts. Which leaves us with something really interesting to think about as travel evolves.
Right.
For decades, luxury meant complete isolation and on-demand indulgence.
Right.
But as places like this show that travelers are willing to endure a little friction to experience real wildlife and culture, maybe the definition of a luxury mega resort is shifting. Maybe true luxury isn't about how much you can control, but how comfortably you can access the wild.
It's a major shift in the industry. The ultimate luxury might not be getting a steak at 3 a.m. It might be having a front row seat to a vibrant world that hasn't been paved over.
I completely agree. Honestly, the best parts of a trip are usually those unexpected moments when the ecosystem just kind of asserts itself.
Absolutely.
Well, we want to hear from you. Would you book a stay at the Westin Reserva Conchal, or do you prefer the classic terrarium model? Let us know in the comments and suggest another resort you want us to review next.
And don't forget to check the Expedia links below to compare those room categories we talked about.
Make sure to like and subscribe to Resorya. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you on the next trip.